Mammal has 2 of them. I don't know about whales, but
They probably do.
yeah, most land animals have 2 of them. Let's put it that way. Okay, just in case somebody wants to troll. It's a heavy note. Anyway. You will notice that there are 2 stamps on here. This one looks like a shield, right? Okay, it says USDA choice. This is grading. Okay, grading is not mandatory. Grading is something that a rancher or a farmer or a beef producer says, I want my animals graded by the USDA, because if they grade out at choice, I can get more money for that animal. If they grade out at prime, I can get even more money for that animal, okay? So that's why they grade products. It's based on the maturity of the animal, the amount of marbling, the amount and heaviness of the subcutaneous fat that's involved. I mean, all of those things go in, the factor, the color of the meat, the protein, all of that goes into a USDA inspector going, okay, and taking anybody ever seen a piece of meat that's had a purple stamp on it? Yeah? Well, that's actually edible ink. There's a stamp roller that the USDA uses, and they'll hit that carcass and roll it all the way down with whatever grade it is. And then it gets graded out and packaged at that grade, okay? This one, the round one here, it says, I gotta read the fine print, so let me turn my bifocals on. Inspected and passed by Department of Agriculture, and it says EST 267. That's the inspector's number, I think. This is mandatory. It means that the plant that this was processed in produces a product, was inspected and passed its inspection to produce product that is wholesome, which means that it's fit for human consumption. If it didn't pass, it wouldn't be on this table, okay? That goes into dog food or whatever, right? But it's processed. It doesn't guarantee that it's bacteria free, but it does guarantee that it was processed according to the USDA guidelines, okay? Which means it should be bacteria free. But we all know that stuff happens, right?
So the inspector inspects the process rather than each individual
Yes.
piece of meat?
Yes. The process.
Yeah, got it.
So, and the inspector, I've worked in a USDA facility, and we didn't start production until the inspector got there. If he was running 20, 30 minutes late, we were running 20, 30 minutes behind all day long, because if we started production and he wasn't there and he came in and he found something that he thinks was wrong,
Toss everything.
everything that was in production at that point got thrown away, and you start production over. Right. The whole entire plant gets cleaned, I mean, all that, right? So yeah, it puts you like 2 or 3 hours behind if he's not there when you start. Yeah. Or it could. It doesn't always, but it could. Yeah. We used to also tease him about the amount of soy that we had on hand. Okay.
And so that it's sterile inside. Like I can just take a slice off that if I wanted to, theoretically.
Theoretically, yes. It would be bacteria free. Yes, theoretically. Now, whether that's going to be true or not is a whole other animal. Well, story, not an animal.
Did you say how much soil you had on hand?
Yeah, because in processing facilities that process products with protein in them, the USDA keeps track of your soy protein really, really, really close. Like
Got
they
it.
inventory it every day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was a soy production plant that was a quarter mile across the street. We used to tell him we had an underground tunnel. He went along with it, but yeah, had a good idea. This is called cryovac, okay? And we call it cryovac because the first company that produced this process of vacuum packaging or sucking the air out of a vacuum pack, okay, to protect meat and keep it from further deteriorating. This is also the process that we call wet aging, okay? Meat naturally has enzymes in it. Anytime an animal expires, there's enzymes in the muscle tissue that begin the deterioration process of that muscle, okay? The decomposition, so to speak. It's how CSI investigators can determine how long somebody's been dead, is how stiff or loose their joints are, whether they've been through rigor or not, all that kind of good stuff. This animal went through rigor, okay? It stiffened up all the joints, the enzymes began to get released, and then it loosened up again as the enzymes begin to work on the joints and break down that tissue. Okay, so this is wet aging. Generally, with wet aged products, we have somewhere between 21 and 28 days when we get it, but it has to be an aged product when we eat it. It won't taste like beef if it's not. Okay, so it's an aged product. That decomposition improves the flavor, the texture of your product. Okay, so it makes it tender. There's also dry aging, which we'll talk about neatly. Okay, which is far more expensive. Okay, so we're going to open this cryovac up. If you happen to get a box of tenderloins in, and there's purge, which is what we're going to talk about here, in the bottom of the box, go through the tenderloins and find out which one's got a leak in it. Okay, and that one, reject, send it back. You don't know when that cryovac got popped. You don't know how long it's been open, how long air's gotten in there, and you could literally make somebody sick. So this is purge, right? And purge is not blood. Okay, every animal that is harvested in the United States that passes inspection is devoid of hemoglobin. So this is the colored water and the protein that's called myoglobin that comes out of the muscle tissue itself. It's not blood. If it was blood, it would have hemoglobin in it, and it doesn't.
Why did they take out the hemoglobin?
Pardon?
So why did they take out the hemoglobin?
Because it's an impurity. It supports bacterial growth and a number of different things. So. And I always dry these off because that myoglobin's really nice and slick. And then we're going to go through this pretty quick because I want to get you cooking today. Here. Get rid of this. So I don't have a trash can today. Okay. This is the side of the tenderloin that's connected to the inside of the rib cage. Okay, and you can see here, this is where a bone was, where it was attached to a bone, right? So was this. That was all attached to bone there, right? This is the other side, and this has been peeled, right? This is called pismo, peeled side muscle on, right? Side muscles are here, okay? And the peel means that they've taken that really heavy fat that's around your kidneys, also covers this, okay? And they've taken that real heavy subcutaneous fat out of there, or not subcutaneous, but heavy fat out of there, right? Because that cushions your kidneys, cushions this in case you get a blow, right? So what we've got here is we've got connective tissue that wraps around the whole thing, wraps around all the muscle tissue, right? So this generally, for all intents and purposes, should come off with just your fingers. Okay, this one's kind of going to be a little radical today, so we're going to cut this off. What we're going to do is we're going to trim all the connective tissue off of this and cut it into medallions, which are small portions. I would use 2 medallions for an entree, 1 medallion for a appetizer portion, or a medallion to go underneath a poached egg to do a steak and egg Benedict, something like that, right? So side muscle, heavy fat. You'll see this heavy fat right here on all of them. Okay, this right here is silver skin. This is collagen. It is connective tissue, and it holds the muscle together. Okay, so it's going to be really tough. So, and you're going to find that when I do fabrication, I use just the tip of my blade most often. All right. It's the sharpest part on the knife, number 1. Number 2, or it should be the sharpest part on the knife. Number 2, it gives me real good accuracy. Okay. So now to get this silver skin off right here. Now there's some chefs, I'm just go ahead and skip here a minute. Some chefs that take this side muscle, right? This one right here. This is called the chain. Okay. They'll take a knife, and I've walked into restaurant operations that were having food cost issues and watched them do this. They take this and they take a knife and they go zip all the way down, and boom, in the trash can. And it makes me twitch, okay? Because that's like 2.5 pounds or 2 pounds of what we're paying $20 a pound for going in the trash can, okay? There is a way to fabricate this, okay? And we're gonna show you how to do that, but right now I'm gonna take it down to a certain point, okay? So we're gonna go right where this muscle separation is. Anytime we fabricate meat, we try and find the separation between the muscles, okay? This is a natural separation between this and this muscle. This is a natural separation between this and this muscle. This muscle actually grows into this one down here, okay? So we've got 3 muscles here, and we're gonna kind of trim this one up to a certain point, okay? Come in right here. There's this piece of connective tissue here, and if you look, there's a little hole, right? Where that's, again, a natural separation between the muscle tissue and the connective tissue surrounding it, right? And I want to kind of grip this, come underneath it, and take that out. And then we're going to just follow this muscle down, right? It's going to taper, and it's going to run into this heavy fat, and that's where I'm going to take it off. It's right at this heavy fat. Okay? And then we'll come back and get that later, right? This heavy fat's going to come out. So it's this. Now we could do a yield test on this while we're doing this. We weigh the entire tenderloin when we start. We weigh what we cut off of it that we can use and that we are going to use for stock or something like that. That's called waste. And we weigh our cut product, and then we do math and figure out exactly how much each ounce of that trimmed product costs us. So if this is $20 a pound, by the time we get done, we're going to lose about 20%. So let's see, what's 20% of 20?
$4.
Pardon?
$4.
Yeah, so it adds $4 to my cost for my product that I'm going to use. That gets divided by the ounce weight, and then we have our new ounce weight to be able to price things. Okay, so yield tests. Now, I've done enough of these that I know generally, on average, I'm going to lose about 20% of the weight of this product by the time I cut it out into entree and appetizer portions. And part of that also includes the tips that I get. So I use the tips, and that becomes what I call free money, okay? Because I charge for my pieces that I'm going to use for entrees and appetizers, and then whatever I have left over that I can use is additional, what I call free cash, okay? So this is our silver skin. This is that collagen that wraps around the muscle that keeps the muscle from exploding, okay? Now we're going to come under here. We're going to flatten this out with the back of our knife. Come right underneath that connective tissue. Push forward just a little bit, just enough to get my finger in here, right? My finger's going to go behind the blade. I'm going to run about a 10 to 15 degree angle, and I'm just going to very gently come down that and try and take off as little of the protein as possible. Then we'll fold it back over and do the same thing in the other direction. And you shouldn't have hardly anything on there, right? That's the idea, is to be able to get this off without losing too much protein, because this is money. These are always just a little bit worse because they're on the curve. And you've noticed I've already started separating piles, right? I've got fat. I've got what I'm calling connective tissue. This is for stock, right? Oh, wait a minute, sorry. Yeah, this is for protein and fat that I can use for ground beef, and this is connective tissue for stock, all right? Because we'll roast that off and put it in our stock. I'm gonna come under this one. Now, if I'm not talking and trying to go slow, I can do one of these things in about 4 minutes. There's a guy that works at what chefs want that's been there for, I think, 20 years fabricating meats. They can trim a tenderloin out into 4 fillets and the side muscles in about 2.5 minutes. It's pretty quick. Okay. This little piece of silver skin that was right here, right, goes all the way around to here. I'll chase that out when I do tips there, right? And this piece comes off here. It's where it's connected to bone. That goes up, that goes over there. Okay. Now, this part right here, right? There are some chefs that leave this on. Why? Why would they leave this on? It's fat, it's flavor. It does have a lot of flavor in it, it's a lot of fat. But they leave it on because of weight, right? So I'm gonna take that off. It's gonna go into ground beef or it's gonna go into stock, which is really not a good producer of money, okay? I really need to use entrees and appetizer stuff. But I also find that in our high-end operations, if I cook a medallion with this chunk of fat on, by the time the medallion gets done, that chunk of fat's falling off. Now my portion's smaller than what it really should be. And I feel like I'm cheating the customer. Okay, so I take this stuff off, right? And the way to get this off is if you take the head of the tenderloin, which is this end, this is the tail, right? Take my knife and turn it over backwards. Okay, so I got the back of the blade, put it right here, pull and push, right? And anything that's supposed to come off will. Okay, and you want to just take off that chunk of fat. If you turn your knife and go real deep, this is so tender it'll actually take off protein too. So, but that's why you use the back of your blade instead of the front of your blade. Okay. Now I'm going to take this little bit of excess fat off here because I do. Here, this chunk of heavy fat comes off. Now this goes into my ground beef, right? And if I'm doing trimming, if I'm cutting my own meats in-house, I should have an outlet for all of this stuff. I should be able to make ground beef and turn that into a sausage or something, right? I won't make hamburger patties out of it because I want a certain amount of fat and protein in my hamburger patties, right? Because it's a main item, right? But I can take this and turn it into a sausage real easily, a salami, right? Smoked kielbasa, whatever that happens to be, right? Because I can guess pretty good on the amount of fat and the amount of protein, okay? And I can make that pretty close. So, now, this being the head, and this being the tail, right? This part of the tail, we're gonna cut into beef tips. Now, the next portion we want, or the next part we want, is we want to get about a 3 to 4 ounce medallion, right? So we're gonna butterfly this because it's really small. This tenderloin was only about 4 pounds, 4.5 pounds. So it's gonna be everything's gonna be really small. There we go. That's probably a 3.5, okay? Now I'm probably gonna need to cut one more because I'm still pretty narrow. Now I'm down to what we call the chateau. This is where your fillets should come from. Okay, it's this portion right here. Center cut of the tenderloin should be a fillet. Okay, this is also called the chateau. If it weighs 16 to 24 ounces, then it could feed, yes?
Oh, finish.
16 to 24 ounces, then it could feed 4 people. If it's 24 ounces, right? 8-ounce portions. And we used to have this. The classical dish is Chateaubriand, right? Where you take the chateau, one nice big piece, you sear it really well, okay, brown it all the way around, sear it really well, put it in the oven, cook it to medium rare, okay, and then it goes out to the table with what we call bouquetier vegetables and the sauce basics to make the sauce to do a tableside presentation. This then gets sliced at the table, put onto the plates, the sauce gets put onto the plate, the vegetables get put on the plate, the plates get served, right? It's for French style tableside service. Other than that, you know, this would be, that's about a 7-ounce fillet.
Is that the beef main ingredient in beef Wellington?
Yes. It's about a 7-ounce fillet there, right? And we can cut 1, 2, 3, 3. We can probably get 4 fillets out of this, right? Or if we're feeding the U of L football team, that would be 1. So, but we're going to cut medallions out of this so everybody can do a medallion. So, medallions are just pretty much your fillet size cut in half. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trim this down here. Right, this would be the end of my chateau right here, and I mark that by the end of this. Okay, I should have this little part where this is connected. This then becomes tips, and I cut fillets out of this and this and this. This is where the original filet mignon came from. If you look here, I'm going to cut tips here. The original filet mignon was made out of these 3 muscles. They would cut the filet, right, the appropriate size, and then we'd take it and they would wrap it in bacon, toothpick it, and blanch bacon, so it cooked at the same rate. Toothpick it, and then they would grill this, right? When it came off the grill, these 2 had kind of welded together, and it looked like one steak, right? Nowadays, filet mignon on most menus just means tenderloin wrapped in bacon, most of it. But that's where it came from, was to be able to use this head as a full steak, right? So there is another way to do that. We're going to take this side muscle here. This is going to come off right at separation. Okay. Flip it over, grab this piece of silver skin here. Okay. Hold it. You might need to use a paper towel sometimes because that gets really slick. Grab that with a paper towel, take my knife at a 90-degree angle. I'm just going to scrape down that silver and pull it out of the center of this. There you go. Now this gets cut into beef tips. Beef tips are really good because I can put them on a skewer, I can put them on a grill, and I can cook them medium rare, and they'll still be tender. I can quick saute these at lunch to a temperature, a medium well, or a medium even, and add sauce to them, put them on top of pasta, or put them on top of rice or something else, right? And have something that I can saute very quickly at lunch, but still a really nice tender piece of meat. I wouldn't want to use the chuck we used yesterday for the stew for that. It's going to be too chewy, right? But the tenderloin tips work really well for that. So those are a valuable piece, okay? And then this part of the head, we're going to split here, and I'm going to make some butterfly fillets out of this. I usually cut my petite fillets out of this, which are small fillets, 6 ounce usually. Here's medallions. I can use these for appetizer portions. 2 of these I might use for an entree portion, maybe. Okay, but most of this is going to be an appetizer of some sort. So we're going to just turn this into tips, go down low and small enough. Goes over here. This one we're going to do the same thing with. Trim that up. Here's my ground beef. This one, probably get one whole one out of here. There we go. Now, we have to deal with, I'll cut this later, right? But we'll have to deal with the chain here. All right, we're gonna cut medallions out of that too. Okay, so the chain, if we look at the chain, right, we've got protein here, fat, protein. We flip it over, this is mostly all smooth. It's all silver skin, okay? We're gonna trim this the same way we trim the other side of the tenderloin, right? We'll take this, put a protein side up, grab this silver skin here, it makes a nice little handle, get our knife handle, our handle off the board, right? And wiggle back and forth and pull. Okay. Now this is pretty much devoid of any, what you might call solid muscle usable protein, okay? So that can go in my ground beef. This goes in connective tissue. This is connective tissue. This, I can chase a couple of these muscles down, trim that fat off, chase these down and make some beef tips out of this. It does tend to be a little chewy. There are some pieces of silver skin in there that we can't get out, right? But it makes really good ground beef too. So we're just gonna cut that down so it'll fit into a grinder. And then this could be part of my beef salami, bangers, sausage. Okay, so now you can see that we've got every bit of that tenderloin went in this pan. The only thing that didn't go in there was the perch, right? Beef tips here, okay? Ground beef. This is excess fat if I need to add that hard fat to something, if I'm grinding up something that's off the round or something that needs more fat in it to make sausage, I'll use this heavy fat for that. This can be a sausage that's got a nice concentration of or percentage of fat and lean, okay? And then this gets browned off and put into my veal stock or my beef stock, one of the two, okay? This is gonna get cut also. So, medallions, fillets, tips, ground beef, stock, ground product. Every bit of it goes there, okay? So, now we're gonna go over there and we're gonna do Anna potatoes. While those are in the oven, I'm gonna show you how to sear medallions, because we're gonna do that today.